These are the 26 letters of the alphabet, and personally, I don't think there is enough letters. I think we need more. Specifically 11 more. Anyways, in today's video, I'm going to be adding 11 new or more letters to this alphabet that we have, and wait till the end to see them all in their glory. Anyways, to get started, I'm going to be looking at some old letters that we used to have in our alphabet, but no longer have. So, if you couldn't tell, there's two spaces here that seem like there's supposed to be a letter there, and that's kind of spoilers, but let's get into the first letter in our alphabet. This is thorn. Thorn was used back in the day for the TH sound, like in the word thorn or thump, that kind of thing. It's a pretty soft TH, sometimes in the, but kind of not really. This letter was taken out because back in the day, the printing press, stuff like that, you know, they didn't ship it across the sea. I think this is a first suitable letter for our alphabet because it just, TH is just so much work to write. TH versus just, what versus just like this. This seems fancier. I feel the fanciness coming like through my marker. However, on the topic of TH, there is another letter that back in the day was also used for TH, but in a slightly different way. And this is where we get into our second letter. This is ev. I think that's how you pronounce it. So while thorn is the th sound, ev is the sound. So it's a sharper TH sound, while thorn is a softer TH sound. So we don't really need these, but I really like the design. Obviously this one's like a rip-off D. That's why it's next to D, although this is how they had it back in the day in the old English alphabet. However, one more letter that wasn't really a letter, but was kind of in the alphabet will transition us into the next several letters. This is the ampersand, and now you may be like, that is a symbol for the word and. And you'd be kind of right, but back in the day, a lot of people like to add this as the 27th letter. At the end of the song, they would say X, Y, Z, and per se, and. Which over time, after saying and per se, and, they said ampersand. And that's how it got its name. Obviously, this is the lowercase variant that I have kind of created. I always write my ands like that. I don't write the whole ampersand, that's so complicated. And so that is the lowercase version of the ampersand. And if you wait till the end, I have another letter that combines a word into one big letter, so stay tuned for that. However, we're going to get into our next letter, which is a completely brand new one created by me and a friend back in high school, but I'm adding it to this video because I wanted to pay homage to it. So this is Kapurka, or more formally known as Kapurka. So if you couldn't tell, the sound that this letter makes is a sound. And I don't mean like a no, I mean like a straight up clearing your throat of mucus sound. It's a very harsh okay? So that's the letter. So how you would spell it is simply Kapurka. So this leads me down an interesting fact that I'm going to state right now, because now I'm going to be changing the name of one of these letters. Can you guess which one? That's right, it's the W. So if you didn't know, every letter, when you like sound out the name for it, has that letter in its spelling. I mean, A has an A, O has an O, Z has a Z, but the only letter that doesn't really do this is W. And you can argue a case for every letter, even like X and V and like H, you know? But W doesn't have that. And so today I'm gonna be making a new name for this letter because it's literally not even a U. Back in the day, the letter V was the U, but then it transitioned into a V and the U, and they kind of split apart like a very ugly divorce. And so the W was the exact same design as the old U, but now it's a double V, but we call it W. So what am I going to be naming it? W is now called Wern, spelled W-E-R-N, Wern. So when you're singing the song or whatever, U-V Wern X-Y-Z. And put a call. So now that we have addressed this new letter, it's time to go back to taking old ones again. So for this, I am taking a Maltese letter, and this is called the H bar. So the H bar, as the name implies, is the H with an extra bar that goes completely through it. It doesn't like stay confined in the lines, it goes completely through it. So while H makes a H sound, the H bar makes a ha. It's more in the back of the throat, a ha. Not a ha, but a ha. And an H is just a ha. And obviously H bar doesn't have the actual H bar in the name, so we're gonna be changing the name of this too. And this is gonna be called H, or H. I'm horrible at pronouncing this letter, even though I'm adding it to my own alphabet. Anyway, the next letter on the agenda does combine 2 letters into one, but it is cool enough to where I'm adding it. So this is the eng. So it's spelled E-N-G, or just E-eng, because eng makes the N-G sound. So when you're running, it is R-U-N-N-I-eng, running. Very useful letter. I think it's cool enough. Now obviously, why didn't I put these next to H and N? Because I didn't want to. I put these 2 in their respective places because that's where they were in the Old English alphabet. However, after the ampersand is where all the other letters that aren't in English go. So the eng comes from the International Phonetic Alphabet for the sound of ng, which is ng, but they use that for the symbol. So it's actually really useful. Anyways, back into the goofy, weird letters. So this one has made a sound of which is something that we really don't have in any alphabet, not even the International or the Extended International Phonetic Alphabet. And so I'm going to be making more of those letters right now, starting with this one. So this letter is called full. Full. It's spelled full, F-F-L-E, full. So if you can tell, this makes the sound. It is a sniffing sound, yes. Now obviously no language or alphabet has this, I'm pretty sure, because why would you ever need this in speech? Like when you're talking, you'll be like, oh hey, what's up, Ja? You know, like that's not someone's name, Ja. No, you got like Jamar, Jackson or whatever his name is, but you don't have a Benaidu. Because I think we need more representation of bodily sounds. Every bodily sound. And so after full, we have this. So this is our first vowel, and our only vowel on the list, because most vowel sounds that we'll ever need are taken. This one is technically a vowel. So this letter is called the, it's spelled H. So like a vowel, there is a short form and a long form. So the long form is, and the short form is, or it's a breathing vowel, but is our first and only vowel on this list, so enjoy. Right next to A, E, I, O, U, sometimes Y, very rarely Wern, and now, new vowel, guys. Anyways, this is the letter I was talking about that combines a bunch of letters, one word into one letter. The most common word in the English language is the. And a while ago, some guy tried to get this symbol for the word the very popularized, but he failed. But I made a better version of it because his is just an H with a line. We already have that. And so for our new the letter, it goes like this. So this letter is called the the. Just like the ampersand is not just called and, it's called ampersand. This isn't called the, it's called the. So ampersand means and per se, and also means also the, because also the, I didn't know what other word to combine with it. I think this is actually incredibly useful. I mean, look at the time save. We write the, or we just write the. That looks awful, actually. The. Then this one's like 10 times harder to write. It's all really complicated, but you know, who cares? Who's keeping track of how hard it is to write? It's a letter, it looks sleek in the alphabet. It's so awesome. We're down to our final 2 letters. Can you guys guess what sounds they make? No, you cannot. So for our next letter, I decided to add more of a teethy sound. This letter is called te. Te. If you couldn't tell, this letter is meant to destroy your teeth by making the sound. I know a lot of people probably can't do this sound. I could have done a I suck at whistling too, that's why I wouldn't add a whistling letter, but I feel like pretty easy. Now you might be like, well, someone without teeth can't say it, but someone without teeth can't say a lot of syllables, so I think we're in the clear. Now, is there absolutely any use case for this letter of te? Now, and finally for the last letter, this one is awesome. It's the most needed letter ever. Did he cook? This letter is called the gul. Gul. It's like pickle, but gul. It's essentially to make the sound, a lip pop. The most useful letter in the English language that we could ever need. I'm just saying, why don't we have a thing for, you know how much we do that? I feel like I do that more than I say frickin' Q. Enough said. Anyways, this is the new Kuvan alphabet. You kind of have to deal with it. Now, obviously, there are uppercase case, middle case, and lowest case, but I'm not going to add that in this video. I don't really feel like erasing all that. Also, I'm going to do some other separate video about it. But this is the new 11 letters of the alphabet. I really like it. So in what uses are we ever going to use these letters? Well, I don't really know. I think when writing a book and you're trying to describe like what this person was doing or saying or whatever, these are some very useful sounds to use. Now the is obviously not very useful, but I feel like it could be in like a Western book, like a or like for the name of a podcast. The ampersand isn't really a letter, but I feel like it just embodies letter material. And then also is also a really good letter. Also, some other letters could be used in some slight scenarios, such as words that have the words A and D in it would just be replaced with the ampersand. So when you're saying sand, it's spelled S ampersand. And then vice versa for the. So when you are saying theater, when you spell it, it's spelled also the R. I didn't realize there was two.
There's not.
And this really can compact the English language a lot. And I could have just done it for more words, but I didn't, so it's a little too late now. But the only really useful letters I could see is the H, just because it kind of differentiates the H's. We don't really need eth or thorn. We don't really need eng. So why'd I add all this anyway? Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. It was pretty fun to make. Also, thank you guys so much for all the views and love on the numbers video when I made 2 new numbers. I thought that was pretty cool. I don't know what the punctuation video is doing right now because it hasn't come out for me yet. But I really hope you guys love that one too. But anyways, like and subscribe if you really wanted to see more stuff like this. I'll eventually cover all the other cases for those letters. And I'm gonna like revamp time. So do be expecting more in the future. Anyways, stay fresh and God bless. I'm gonna change my name from Steven is cool to is cool.